It is the high-speed hippo type from Medarot 9 that focuses on dashing in, punishing heavy foes, and then disappearing almost as fast as she appears. It is HPP02 Hippopotensia, with a kit of Conceal, Double Break Hammer, Wheeled Legs, and the leg ability of No Guard, which buffs success and power to all equipped combat parts, but at the cost that they cannot dodge or defend while in heat phase, or in this case running through the line. Now, honestly, with this pretty much right from start, Hippopotensia makes it very clear that her emphasis is heavy punish. Of course, going into that briefly in just a moment, Conceal is a support-based skill which will buff evade to a point across the board for herself and allies, but also negate it will also negate pierce damage for one blow per use, essentially, that it is applied. So in the case of like a hammer skill that comes in, all the damage will be directed to one part exclusively instead of spread out across all four at a weaker rate. Break Hammer is a gravity attribute skill, which basically means the more heavy parts that the target has, the more bonus and punish damage that Hippopotensia is capable of dealing. In addition to this, because it is a gravity attribute skill, it does also get a success bonus upon reaching a certain threshold of a Metaforce charge. And then, of course, Wheeled Legs means you will have very solid mobility on the few terrains that Wheeled Legs are good at, but that is also a major downfall for her, given the fact that Wheeled Legs are not very good and very picky on every terrain on all but about 2. And that's including Cyber, which everybody's good at. However, the No Guard ability, even though it will give her more power, honestly would serve more as a detriment to a point, unless you have someone specifically built to cover her, given that she is completely wide open through the entirety of her heat phase running through the line, which leaves her wide open to counter or even punishing before she even has a chance to take her turn. For these reasons, as a pure set score, I have to rate her a pretty solid 5 out of 10. The terrains that she is good on, and especially against foes that are using 2 or more heavy parts, she is an absolute menace for what she can offer. Especially since she has Break Hammer on both arms, meaning that she can deal the hit. That means that she can deal the hit and just keep that damage train going as long as she needs. However, one other thing to make note of is that if you pair off No Guard with the cooldown detriment of Break Hammer, which is no defend and no evade, this does mean that this leaves Hippopotensia pretty much entirely open through the entirety of her cooldown and her heat phases, making her basically an open target and requiring you to make sure you have a shielder on the team to cover her, or she's really going to be facing a lot of pain in those couple holes where people can get through a shield or some other instance. As mixed parts, on the other hand, I have to rate her a little higher at a 6.5 out of 10, given the fact that even though by herself she is rather selectively niche, kind of conditional to use to a point because of her drawbacks, she still does offer a lot of really handy skills across the board. Break Hammer in particular being the MVP on the board. Even though they're both heavy, the heavy punish is there and will for sure pay it back once these parts are raised, especially if you're targeting someone with 2 heavy parts or more.